In exactly 6 months, your current reality is going to completely collapse. You are going to lose the relationship, the money, or the career you are desperately trying to protect. The person who will take it from you is not a stranger. They are currently sitting in your living room. They are drinking your coffee. They are texting you good morning. You are going to willingly hand them the absolute master keys to your life. You will thank them for taking those keys. You will only realize you were completely robbed when you wake up in the dark and the locks have already been changed. This is the mathematical guarantee of blind trust. Society aggressively conditions you to view trust as a moral virtue. You are taught that good people trust easily. You are told that healthy relationships require absolute surrender. You are instructed to drop your guard, open your vault, and expect the best from people. You are told that suspicion is a toxic trait. This is a lethal, weaponized delusion. It is a fairy tale engineered to keep you highly exploitable. Trust is not a virtue. Trust is a high-risk transfer of leverage. Over 500 years ago, Niccolo Machiavelli studied the mechanics of total ruin. He did not study the peasants. He studied the elites. He watched wealthy merchants hand the keys of their empires to their closest friends, only to die in absolute poverty. He watched brilliant generals trust the wrong advisors and lose their heads on the executioner's block. He documented a terrifying, unshakable truth about human nature. What nobody tells you about trust is that the exact moment you give it away, you lose the ability to defend yourself. Machiavelli realized that trust is the easiest mechanism to completely hijack the human brain. To survive in a reality where predators actively hunt for your blind faith, you must deconstruct this illusion. You must understand the 3 fatal invisible architectures of trust. If you refuse to learn this, you will be systematically dismantled by the exact person you swore would never hurt you. The first fatal architecture is the asymmetry of leverage. When you trust someone, you think you are engaging in a fair exchange. You think you are building a mutual bond. You share a deep secret. They share a deep secret. You feel profoundly connected. You are completely blind to the actual transaction. A Machiavellian predator uses trust as an emotional Trojan horse. They offer you a very cheap, highly manufactured emotion. They offer you validation. They offer you fake empathy. They make you feel seen. In exchange for this cheap emotion, you hand over high-value permanent assets. You give them the passwords to your phone. You give them the PIN code to your bank account. You give them the exact high-resolution map of your deepest childhood traumas. You trade hard data for a temporary feeling. The feeling will eventually fade, but the predator keeps the data forever. When the relationship inevitably turns cold, the asymmetry becomes lethal. They now possess absolute leverage. They have a loaded gun pointed directly at your reputation. You have nothing but the memory of a fake connection. They did not build a bond with you. They stockpiled psychological ammunition, and you gladly paid for the bullets. The second fatal architecture is the delusion of the benefit of the doubt. You have been brainwashed by the politeness protocol. When a new partner's story does not add up, your stomach drops. Your biological survival instinct immediately fires. You see the inconsistency. You see the red flag waving aggressively in your face, but you do not act on it. You give them the benefit of the doubt. You do this because confronting them feels awkward. You do this because you do not want to seem crazy. You suppress your own terrifying intuition just to keep the peace. You invent a logical excuse for their highly illogical behavior. Machiavelli knew that predators rely entirely on your desire to be polite. They weaponize your social conditioning. The benefit of the doubt is not a sign of your good character. It is a thick, psychological smokescreen. Every single time you give a manipulator the benefit of the doubt, you buy them time. You give them the exact operational cover they need to position the blade. You look the other way while they quietly empty the joint account. You ignore the late-night text messages while they line up your replacement. You become a silent, polite co-conspirator in your own absolute destruction. The predator does not have to blindfold you. You willingly put the blindfold on yourself just to avoid an uncomfortable conversation. The third and most agonizing architecture is the forgiveness trap. You believe that forgiveness repairs a broken bond. Someone betrays your trust. They lie to you. They steal a client from you at work. You catch them. They cry. They apologize profusely. They swear it will never happen again. You want to believe them, so you offer them a second chance. You forgive the betrayal. You think you just saved the relationship. You did not save anything. You just established a new baseline of acceptable abuse. Machiavelli understood that the first betrayal is never the main attack. The first betrayal is a stress test. The predator drops a plate on the floor simply to see if you will clean it up. They want to test the structural integrity of your boundaries. When you forgive a major breach of trust, you do not teach them about mercy. You teach them about your absolute lack of consequences. You prove to them that your boundaries are entirely negotiable. The predator looks at your forgiveness and feels pure contempt. They realize you are too weak to enforce your own rules. Once they know you will not walk away, the leash is completely off. The second betrayal will not be a mistake. It will be a highly calculated, catastrophic strike. They will burn down your entire house, and they will do it simply because your forgiveness gave them the matches. How do you survive in a world where your desire to trust is actively used to destroy you? How do you operate without becoming completely paralyzed by paranoia? You must execute a cold mechanical protocol. You must build the zero-trust architecture. The zero-trust architecture requires you to permanently kill the concept of blind faith. You stop viewing trust as a light switch that you simply turn on. You begin viewing trust as a highly secure, heavily audited dial. You verify absolutely everything. When you meet someone new, you do not give them the benefit of the doubt. You give them the burden of proof. You judge them entirely by their actions over a long, sustained timeline. You completely ignore their words. You completely ignore their apologies. You watch their feet. You install psychological tripwires. You share a tiny, insignificant piece of information to see if it leaks back to you. You set a small boundary to see how aggressively they try to cross it. You test the perimeter before you ever let them inside the gates. And most importantly, you completely eradicate second chances for malicious behavior. When someone intentionally breaches your trust, you do not sit them down for a long conversation. You do not ask for closure. You do not ask them why they did it. You immediately recognize the stress test. You execute a completely silent, totally unapologetic departure. You cut the cord. You lock the door. You remove their access to your reality forever. The ultimate victory over a Machiavellian predator is not catching them in a lie. It is not forcing them to tell you the truth. It is building a psychological fortress so heavily fortified and so relentlessly audited that their lies simply bounce off the walls. Think carefully about the last time you gave someone the benefit of the doubt when your gut was screaming at you to run. How long did it take for them to prove your intuition was absolutely right? How much did that politeness cost you? Share your absolute darkest survival stories in the comments below. Let us expose these invisible architectures of power together. Subscribe to Human Noir. Join the elite few who see human nature exactly as it is. Refuse to be played as a polite pawn in someone else's game. Until next time, guard your reality. Verify everything. Always remember, the most expensive thing you will ever give away is the benefit of the doubt.